Hey guys, this is a video for those feeling a bit more confident with remedies at the moment and want to move on to discussing the extent to which remedies achieve their purposes. The most important purpose of damages is to return the plaintiff to their original position. Okay, sometimes with, for example, exemplary damages, there is an element of punishing the defendant. However, for our purposes, we just want to focus on this purpose here. So when we're discussing, we're considering the extent to which the plaintiff has been returned to their original position. Alright. When we are considering this proposition, we have to really ask 4 core questions. Okay, firstly, and this is how I want you to remember QNTE. You can come up with a mnemonic. I'm not going to try one here because it will be stupid. All right. The first thing we consider are the quantifiable losses. So those losses we can easily put a number on. We're thinking about financial losses. You're thinking about future earnings, etc. In the Rebel Wilson case, this was taken into account in the first award of damages by looking at movie offers that she lost or was not offered. So that's work that she's no longer being able to undertake because Bauer Media have damaged her reputation. And these link in nicely as well. Often with financial losses, you might be looking at, if it's a negligence claim, medical bills or ongoing medical costs. Then we need to look at the non-quantifiable losses. These are both, I should point out, losses. So anything that's sort of psychological, emotional, if we're talking about the enjoyment of someone's life, so have they now lost the ability to enjoy certain aspects of their life, doing hobbies, being a member of their community. In the Rebel Wilson case, this was taken into account by the judge when he talks about general damages and looks at the pain that Rebel Wilson has suffered through the loss of her reputation and the ongoing sort of gossip that is being spread by individuals in Hollywood, and how that takes its psychological and emotional toll on the plaintiff. Again, if we're looking at a negligence case, often it'll be something to do with some sort of leisure activity that the plaintiff can no longer partake in. We also need to think about the time and costs of going to court. Okay, it's a long, expensive process initiating civil action. However, do the damages take this into account? So we're looking at legal bills. Often there is a different process for costs than is taken into account in damages, but certainly damages should take into account the amount of time that it takes to pursue a case. And lastly, we need to look at if there are any enforcement issues. By this I mean, does the defendant have the capacity to pay? If the defendant cannot pay an amount of damages, clearly the plaintiff is not going to be returned to their original position. Enforcement issues are a key consideration even before you initiate a civil claim, where if for whatever reason the plaintiff is out of the country, if they have gone bankrupt, that may dissuade the plaintiff from actually pursuing them. And again, this is a reason why, linking back to vicarious liability, this is exactly why we want to go after an employer rather than an employee, because we're not going to face these same enforcement issues. In the Wilson case, Bauer Media, massive company, they're not going to have any issue paying. Alright, QNTE, come up with a mnemonic to help you remember that when you are looking at damages and the extent to which they achieve their purposes. Okay, let's look at this question now. I can see that the instructional term is discussed, the limiting words, extent to which, remedy, achieved its purposes. 2 content words in this case. Another content word, mark allocation is 6 marks. Discuss both sides. The extent to which I can choose limited, moderate, or significant. Okay, I just want you guys to choose one of those 3. Instead of saying some, say moderate. The remedy achieved its purposes in this case. So I know here, damages were awarded. It's important to note, and we haven't gone into a ton of detail with this, that Justice Dixon awarded over $4 million. It was $4.6 million in damages, whereas that was reduced on appeal to around $600,000. Okay. That's after the appeal in the Court of Appeal. Okay. Because a lot of the work we've done is on this first judgment, I'm going to discuss the extent to which this first judgment achieves the purposes of remedies. Okay. For the SAC, if you would get a question like this, I just want you to choose the remedy awarded in either case. So if you're going to go with the $4.6 million, refer to that initial judgment by Dixon. If you're going to run with the appellate judgment, that's fine as well for our purposes. Okay. So I'm talking about $4.6 million. In this case, obviously it's Wilson and Bauer. 6 marks. So divide 2 plus 1 means I'm going to have at least 4 substantive points, and I have 9 minutes. Alright, let's go on to our quick discussion plan. Alright, so in terms of quantifiable losses, this remedy does achieve its purposes in terms of restoring losses for future earnings. Clearly, an award of $4.6 million is sufficient to make up for the opportunities Rebel Wilson lost in terms of Trolls 3, really quality films, and Kung Fu Panda 3. Okay, if she lost opportunities in these films and they were supposed to pay her a certain amount, as we saw in the judgment, then that will restore her for those losses. On the other hand, the question is, will the ongoing damage to her reputation be a considerable non-quantifiable loss that she's suffered? So, damage to reputation. Is that going to have an ongoing impact? You could suggest that it's this idea of really mud sticks. Don't say this in your SAC, obviously, but once someone has put something out there, this will stay with Wilson throughout her career, despite her win in the case. So arguably no amount of money is sufficient to make up for the loss of someone's reputation. On the other hand, the general damages awarded were so significant, over $4 million, 4.6 I think it was so significant that you could argue that this does make up for pain and suffering. Because Rebel Wilson can continue to work. This is not preventing her enjoyment of life. So this amount of money clearly makes up for whatever pain that she suffered as a result of the rumours being spread by Bauer Media. Okay. Lastly, it also achieves its purposes because there are no enforcement issues. Bauer Media is going to be able to pay. They're a massive company. They have many magazines. Bauer Media's got the money, and this is why instead of suing the journalist, they sued Bauer Media through vicarious liability. So they're going to be my 4 points. Overall, I think the fact that I've got 3 points on here says that it achieves its purposes to a significant extent. I'm going to argue them 1, 2. I'm going to bounce from here. This is really looking at general damages as well. Here, further, and that's my answer plan. Again, you're turning each of these into an IEE or an IEEE. All right, good luck with your attempt.